We're just 5 days away from Las Vegas. Let's talk about that. Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, August the 28th, 2021. And yes, we are just, as I record this, 5 days away from Las Vegas. Many of you see it, only 4 days away from Las Vegas. So keeping our fingers crossed after months and months of planning, we're about to pull this trip off, we hope. So just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. First, wanted to thank everybody who joined me on the live last Wednesday. We went for like almost an hour and a half. Thought it was a good live stream, and we had a lot of participation, a lot of people in the chat, usually around 30-40 people throughout. So that was very nice to see so many folks there. Thanks to those who chipped in a few dollars for the trip with their super chats, much appreciated as well. Housekeeping notes, as I've mentioned, there will not be a Wednesday show the next 2 Wednesdays because those are travel days for me to and from Las Vegas. Do expect a live stream at some point on Wednesday, but it might be pretty late or in some cases pretty early, but we'll probably go live at some point Wednesday night. We are going to do our 5th podcast sometime on Monday, so if you've enjoyed those, I know we have a few people that enjoyed our little podcast experiment, so we'll be doing one of those on Monday. And then the plan is to continue to do the daily vlog. In other words, Thursday morning when I get up and around, I'll put together the footage and from the day before, as well as some of my thoughts about what took place. And we will try to do that all 7 days of the trip. May not happen that last day, depends. Could be a little bit of a tight squeeze to get that in, but in any case, that's the plan. If there's a Vegas Weekly next week, it'll be a Vegas Weekly live. I don't know what that even means. Today, I'm going to kind of, again, take a little departure from the official show format and talk about some travel tips in general. And I think a lot of us, when you look at Vegas, you start, you talk about, I got to get my flight, check with my hotels, get that taken care of and square it off. If there's any particular restaurants or shows that can't miss, we may have gotten our tickets or made our reservations already for that. And so we tend to see the big picture of Las Vegas, but not always the smaller details. And I thought I'd touch on a few of those as the day goes along. First off, whether you are a high roller or a low roller, you should always go to Vegas with a budget of sorts. And of course, that the money that you're taking to Las Vegas for gambling purposes, you should assume will be gone. The good thing about Vegas is that once in a while, the money that you plan to gamble away, you keep and sometimes even add to, but that's not usually the norm. So plan your gambling budget as though it was money you were going to lose, and if you don't, well, that's a nice bonus. But again, remember to budget in some things that may not be at the top of your list. Are you driving to the airport? Do you have a full tank of gas? You might want to check that out. When you get there, are you going to be paying for parking? You probably are. Might want to budget that into the trip as well. Of course, once you get to Las Vegas, you'll be budgeting in the cost of transportation. And right now that's difficult to do because the Uber rates are up and down all over the place. So it's very hard to know exactly what it's going to cost to get from your hotel to the airport. If you're staying somewhere on the Strip, you also obviously have the option to take a cab, and there is a flat rate on that. So curiously enough, there may be times that it's actually cheaper to take a cab. And of course, it's a little more convenient as well. So just something to keep an eye on there. And again, something you're going to have to pay for somewhere along the line, so make it part of your trip budget. Once you're in Las Vegas and trying to get from place to place, and I think we've done a pretty good job planning this particular trip, the 5 of us, in terms of trying to concentrate our activities in certain parts of the city on certain days. So, there's a day that we'll be spending a lot of time on the south end of the Strip, and then there's a day we'll be spending mostly around the city center area, and then there's probably a day, later in the trip that we'll be spending more, in sort of the Mirage, Treasure Island, Venetian Wynn sort of part of the Strip. So if you can minimize the number of different trips you're taking to the same location, you can certainly save some money. And, if you're really on a tight budget, don't forget probably the best transportation deal in Las Vegas is the 3-day bus pass, $20. And you can ride the bus anywhere in Las Vegas. You can ride the express buses, the Deuce, any of the neighborhood buses. If you want to explore parts of Las Vegas you might not otherwise. And again, it's just one flat fee. I mean, that might be one Uber ride or one taxi cab. So if you don't mind waiting a little bit and maybe not being quite as comfortable and not having things be quite so convenient, the bus pass is a great option as well. One option that I think can be overlooked from time to time, and I think it mostly applies if you happen to be staying on the far north end of the Strip, like particularly at Sahara or Westgate. Their monorail station is relatively close to the hotel, which is not so true if you're talking about the MGM Grand or Bally's. But Westgate and Sahara, it is a very quick walk to the monorail station, and then a very quick, easy ride down to either the center Strip, or again, you can go all the way down to MGM Grand. Like I said, I don't normally recommend the monorail as a great deal, but again, if you're staying at those two properties and you want to spend some time, more time center or south Strip, to me, it's a great way to get there without having to deal with the street. So for as long as it's out there, and you can get multi-day passes there too that make it a fairly good deal. And again, you're not dealing with the vagaries of the current rideshare market in Las Vegas. Of course, when you are setting up a Las Vegas budget, one big part of that, of course, is going to be your hotel bill. But don't forget the resort fees, because the hotel won't. Even if you're comped, there are some comps that will still charge you a resort fee. Okay, so make sure you look at the fine print because you're gonna have to pay for that as well. In addition to the costs that you may not be thinking about on your trip, there also may be some benefits that you're not thinking about on your trip. If you're a player who's traveled around the city and played at a number of properties over the years, you might be surprised to note that you actually have at least some small comps available at some of those properties, and maybe larger than you thought. If you, like myself, I have an enormous number of comp dollars at my disposal at Caesars. So it's easy to remember that. Actually, I have a fair number of comp dollars at the Boyd properties, which hopefully I'll be able to take advantage of that when I'm staying at the Orleans for one night. But, sometimes you can have small comp amounts at other properties. I don't have a lot of comp dollars available to me with MGM. I have some. I pretty much always, if you check, you'll have something through the D or the Golden Gate, through the One Club. Even if it's just, $5 or $10 worth of free play or food, it's still, there's a meal, or at least a snack that you otherwise would be having to pay for. So, if you're not sure, hey, check out, just check out the Players Club desk when you arrive and see if you have anything, because you might. I know one property that's really good for just accumulating some free food or other perks is the Plaza. They have a little kiosk machine that you can log into, and it'll show you your offers. And usually you have something, even if you haven't been there for a while. And if you play just a little bit, there's usually a free food option every day that they'll have for you. So that's definitely worthwhile if you're in the downtown area. And obviously, if you've never played at a particular resort before, that's a great opportunity, because usually signing up for the player's card will also get you some introductory comps, we might call it. And typically they'll take the form of, okay, if you earn so many points, you'll get a T-shirt, or you'll, you lose $20 and we'll, reimburse you and you can play another $20. Little things like that, or a free buffet, are pretty common. So most places will have some kind of a sign-up bonus. So, if you're a first-time visitor to, say, Resorts World, for example, maybe you can get something. I don't know. I don't know that. I haven't really heard of people getting anything, but there you go. Again, with gambling and with any of your budget, it's always, I think, recommended to, first off, to prepay for as much stuff as you can. That may sound strange, but I mean, obviously I booked my flight and paid for the flight a long time ago. I have one hotel where I'm not staying comped, so the first night I had to put down a deposit, but I put the deposit down, it's been paid off a long time ago. So some of those charges are sunken already. If you absolutely know you want to see certain shows, you may want to book those in advance and pay for them, and therefore it's not coming out of your daily sort of gambling, eating budget, so to speak. So that's a fairly valid way to think about things. And of course, the gambling piece is the part that always bites people. You ask, oh, well, how much do I need to take to Vegas to gamble with every day? Well, there's no right answer to that. I see people that are gambling $25 a spin and others that are gambling 25 cents a spin, and they're all seeming like they're having a pretty good time. So don't assume just because you aren't going to be playing the big bucks necessarily that you can't have a good time. It's fun winning 500 coins even if they're just nickels. So it's still kind of cool, and they'll still bring you drinks if you want them. And don't forget gratuities. It's another thing that can easily slip through the cracks. It doesn't hurt to have a good number of $1 bills on you, but keep in mind you can always break your bills at the ticket redemption machines. So make sure that you're always well stocked with ones, even if you're giving people more than a single dollar. The ones are a good currency of tipping all the way around. So definitely budget that into your daily allotment as well if you're planning to go anywhere and deal with anyone who's providing you a service, because it's part of the Vegas experience. So get used to it. Make sure you're tipping your bellman. If they bring up your bags, make sure that you are tipping your maid generously. We've talked about we had a tipping special not that long ago, but those are some things that, again, you may not be budgeting for. You may think that you've got everything planned, and you may discover that you're spending an extra $100 a day on things that you hadn't thought about. Time-wise, if you're not if you're a regular, I guess, business traveler, or traveler for relaxation, whatever the case may be, you may have a pretty good sense about airport times and things like that. I tend to be pretty paranoid I usually always try to get to the airport a couple hours beforehand. And that often means that I'm walking around or sitting around for 30, 40 minutes not doing anything, but I'd rather be sitting around at the airport not doing anything, waiting for my flight, than be trying to rush around and make sure I don't miss my flight. So I usually figure it takes about 30 minutes to get through all of the security things. Sometimes it can be longer than that, though. Usually I'll get something to eat, and that'll kill another 30 minutes. So, by the time, another 30 minutes is gone and you're already starting the boarding process. So that's just a good, I'd say, rule of thumb. If you know your airport and you know your flights and have a lot of experience with that, you may be able to cut those numbers down. Maybe they need to be longer depending upon where you go. But I like to allow myself a little extra time. And I think that that may be kind of the theme of this particular trip to some degree. I'm not necessarily in a rush to do things. I've got 7 days basically, so it's not if you're traveling there for 2 or 3 nights over a weekend, you're going to constantly feel like you've got to get to place to place to place to place. And yeah, we've got some plans of things we're going to do, but there's also a lot of free time in that budget of time. So you know, a longer trip can actually be a savings in terms of time and money if you're careful about it. And of course, the one thing I always talk to people talk about is packing and how to pack and what to do. You know, can you avoid wearing a belt so you don't have to take it off? Can you you have a pair of slip-on shoes that are easy to get on and off when going through security? I check bags. I mean, I check a bag typically. I don't have two bags, but I check a bag. It's free through Southwest, which is who I fly with 95% of the time. So that's not a big deal. And mostly what I carry on is a small backpack with you know, some entertainment stuff for me. But also some things that, you know, if there's things you absolutely can't live without, you know, I'll have my chargers and stuff with me. I'll have my tablets so I can, you know, watch movies or something on the plane. You know, again, all the charging ports, headphones. If you're planning to watch something on the plane, keep in mind you need to have it so that you're not bothering everybody else in the row. So that's something you definitely want to take in your carry-on. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a carry-on guy. If you are a carry-on guy or gal, I'm sure you have some tips to that as well. Don't overpack. Unless that's just what you want to do, I guess. But and I like to pack in sort of a modular fashion, you know, bags inside of bags, you know, and pouches inside of bags inside of bags. So that makes it so much easier to sort of locate everything. Whenever I go through security, I always use my backpack and empty my pockets of everything into part of the backpack that I have easy access to, so I don't just have my keys and wallet and stuff just laying around in the little tubs. They're all secured inside the bag, which tends to work out pretty well. So anyway, just a few important tips, some things to remember for your next Vegas trip, and things that I thought it would be interesting for me to remember as I prepare for mine. We're going to go ahead and shut this down, short of 20 minutes today. I know that'll please everyone. It'll even please me. So hope that you'll join us this following week in Vegas. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do so. Hit the notification bell, because we could go live at any time. And we certainly appreciate you tuning in for today's show. So until next time, which should be in Las Vegas, I hope that you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We will see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.